Hey guys, this is Nandini with the Go and Chess Trio. Welcome to another endgame video. So today what we are going to do is we are going to continue the endgame study we began in our previous endgame video, and that was the rook versus the bishop endgame. So this is part 2 of the same rook versus the bishop endgame. So if you haven't checked out the previous video, please do check it out first and then get to this video. That's going to be the best for you. And yes, in the previous video, that is the first part of the rook versus the bishop endgame, what we covered was we did what happens if the defending king is in the good corner. Well, in this video, we're going to have a look at what happens if the defending king is in the bad corner, or so-called the wrong corner. Well, does he actually have a chance to draw, or is he always lost? Well, let's have a look at that. As you see on the board, the black king is near the bad corner or the wrong corner, and that is because he's having a dark squared bishop and his king is near the dark squared corner. So this is definitely the bad corner. As we've already seen in the previous video, the part 1 video, that if you are having the bishop, you want to take your king to the opposite colored corner of the bishop. That's going to be the good corner. So here in this position, this is a dark squared bishop. So the good corners are going to be the A8 corner or the H1 corner. But the black king is really far from these corners, and he really can't reach those corners immediately, or even if he tries to, if white plays accurately. So the point in this position is white has the perfect setup. And the reason why this is a perfect setup, or let us say the only winning setup, by the only winning setup, I mean he's having a rook over here on f7 that actually controls the f8 square, because of which the black king cannot run away and probably go to the a8 corner, because if white does give black a chance, then black will be happily running to the a8 corner, because that is the correct corner for his king. Now, since the rook is already on f7, the king is stuck to these two squares, the g8 square and the h8 square. Now, how does white convert this to a win? First of all, the black bishop is kind of taking shelter behind the white king. And what do I mean by taking shelter? Well, you'll understand this in a short while. First, we'll have to try to get the bishop out in the open, because that is the only way we're going to win this position. So we play a move like rook f1, attacking the bishop on g1. Now, the bishop has to go to h2 if he wants to try to hold the position, because if he does not go to h2, and if he, let's say he plays a move like bishop e3, now this is what we want. We want the bishop to stop taking shelter of our king and actually move in the open, because now we have to move rook e1, because now wherever the bishop goes, we have a threat of rook e8 checkmate. So let's say the bishop can go to c5 here, because he's going to interrupt with bishop f8, wants to give a check. So after rook e8 check, bishop f8, well, this is a winning setup for us, because we can just make a waiting move with a rook over here. And after we make a waiting move, now this is the point of it. Now this is because this king is in the wrong corner. So now he has a move for himself, and this is not a stalemate. But in the previous video, we saw that if he's at the correct corner, this is going to end up in a stalemate, because he wouldn't have a move. And in this position, he has the move king h8, and there is rook f8. Checkmate. So this is actually the winning idea for white. So this is why white tries to ask, or let's say make the bishop move away and not take shelter. So after rook f1, bishop h2, again we want the bishop to move. So what are we going to do? We keep attacking the bishop and taking control of more and more squares. So rook f2, and here black has two options. One is bishop g1, bishop g3. These are the two moves where he can still hide. And yes, bishop g1 is possible, but again rook g2 is going to be played, and it's going to be very similar to what we're going to see in the main line. I've kept bishop g3 as the main line. It's actually the one and the same thing. The idea is the same, the concept is the same. So here rook g2 is played, and again here the bishop can try to move kind of to h4 or f4, but again both the moves do not work. Let's have a look. If the move bishop h4 is played, white has the very nice king h5, giving a check and attacking this bishop. So this is a discovered check, and he captures the bishop. The same goes with bishop f4, because there is king f5 and the bishop falls. So this is really not possible. So after rook g2, what can black do? Let's say he goes bishop e5. So after bishop e5, now we cannot really give black a chance to move his king. For example, if we make a waiting move somewhere with our rook, then probably black can take his king and try to run away. So this is something we do not want to allow black to do. So we are going to continue the idea as we have already seen. We are going to play rook e2 now with an idea of rook e8 once the bishop moves. So now again, if let's say, how many options does black have over here? He has one bishop g7 to come to f8, one bishop d6, but both the moves lead to the same thing. So let's have a look at bishop g7 first. There is rook e8, and after bishop f8, we know we can just make a waiting move with the rook, and after king h8, there is rook f8, and that is a checkmate. Now let's have a look at bishop d6. What happens for bishop d6? Again, we have rook e8, and after bishop f8, again, we have this. That is winning for white. Now in this position, instead of bishop e5, black can always play the move bishop d6 directly. For example, this probably is his best try in this endgame, or let's say in this position. So over here again we continue with the same idea. We play the move rook d2, and we have an idea of rook d8, right? If he moves the bishop, so what is he going to do? The best possible try for him is bishop e7, taking control of the d8 square. So now we do not have the move rook d8 check. So how do we exactly continue over here, and why did I say that this is black's best try? Well, the reason is because if white does blunder by playing the move rook e2 over here, this is a very big blunder, because now this is how black can attain a draw with accurate play, because now he doesn't need to move the bishop. He can play the move king f8, and now his king is going to rush to the good corner. That is the light squared corner. So this is why at the start when the rook was on f7, I said it was the perfect setup. So over here the correct move is, you could go to any of these. You could try to go to a light squared square on the 8th rank, that is the c8 square or the a8 square. So let's just go for the c8 square. So we play the move rook c2, now having a threat of rook c8, and over here if he plays a move like king f8, then we know we can simply win, because we have rook c8 and the king can't really run out because his own bishop is blocking him. So bishop d8 is forced, and we can just win the bishop and the endgame. And other than that, what else can he do? Let's say he plays a move like bishop f8. Well, we know we can just go rook c8, and there is no stalemate here because the king is in the or near the bad corner. So he moves the king and we just capture the bishop and the game ends right away. So that's why this is a perfect setup for white. And yeah, so an important thing to note down is, if you are the player with the bishop, always take your king to the opposite colored corner of your bishop. That is, if you have a bishop that is dark squared, then you take your king to a light squared corner. And if your bishop is a light squared bishop, you take your king to a dark squared corner. This is the simplest way to attain a draw. And if you are the side having the rook, then if your opponent is actually stuck at the wrong corner or the bad corner, then try not to allow your opponent's king to run or reach to the good corner. That's all I have to say about this endgame. And yes, if you did find this video helpful, then please help us by hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel. I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye-bye.